are you?
I'm doing pretty good, thank you. Thank you. So welcome to Rocket Park. This is where you get to see the wonderful Saturn V that you guys are oohing and eyeing and taking selfies with and just having a good old time checking it out. So this is the rocket that was used during the Apollo program to send America to the moon for the first time. It was used back in it was first launched in 1967, and the last time it was used was in 1974, not for the Apollo program, but for Skylab to deploy Skylab into space. The last time it was used on a moon mission was in 1971, Apollo 17. And so far we have not been back to the moon since. I hope they're saying that they will be sending a crew by February of next year. Keep your fingers crossed. I hope and pray that that does happen.
So are they going to the North Pole or the South Pole?
The South Pole.
South
Where
Pole.
they're going to be landing. When they're going to be landing on Artemis 3 is when they'll be landing. The next mission, Artemis 2, they're just going to go around the moon and then come back.
Okay.
So the Saturn V. When standing on the launch pad, it stands at 364 feet tall. To give you an idea on how tall that is, the Statue of Liberty is just over 300 feet tall. It's pretty big. When fully fueled, it weighs 6.5 million pounds. And 90% of that weight is just the fuel, over 1 million gallons of it. And that fuel does not last very long. 5 engines in its first stage alone burn 15 tons of it per second. And you bet your cars had bad gas mileage.
Just 10 gallons.
Yeah, so the reason why it's called the Saturn V, Saturn in reference to the sixth planet in our solar system, planet Saturn, which is also named after a god in Greek mythology, which is a normal practice in NASA, naming parts and programs after gods in mythology. 5 is in reference to the 5 engines in its first stage. V, numeral. So there wasn't like a Saturn 1 or a Saturn 2 or anything like that. It was just Saturn 5 engines. So overcoming Earth's gravity takes enormous amounts of fuel and power. So for Apollo, they divide the rocket into 3 different sections or stages. When one stage burns its fuel, it drops away, saving weight. So the first stage, it would burn for 2 minutes, and this just gets it off the ground, clearing the tower and up to speed. After that, it will drop away, crashing into the Atlantic Ocean. The second stage, which also has 5 engines, this would burn for 6 minutes, and this just gets it into space, just barely, and then it would fall away, burning up partially in the atmosphere, and then whatever's left crashes into the Atlantic. The third stage, it would have which has a single engine, same one as on the second stage. This would burn for 5 minutes, putting Apollo in a parking orbit around the Earth. Not as high as what the ISS is, but just a little bit lower orbit. And it would orbit the Earth about 2-3 times, make sure that the spacecraft is okay, everything's working properly. And then they fire its engine a second time for 6 minutes. That's what's known as the TLE burn, translunar ejection burn, and which sends them to the moon. Shortly after that, they then do a special maneuver where they undock themselves from the spacecraft to pick up the lunar lander. And the way that works is the command module would attach itself just like this. These panels would open up, float away into deep space, never seen again. The capsule will go out, turn back around, to go back to the lunar module, dock the nose with the lunar module, and then extract it out into this formation right here, which is how it will look on its way to the moon. The third stage, depending on which mission it is, would either be sent out into deep space, never seen from again, or they put it on a collision course to the moon and impacting the surface, which is picked up by a seismometer left from a previous mission. The Apollo spacecraft will then start making its way to the moon, which they then put themselves in orbit around the moon. And then the lunar module, with its 2 crew of 3, leaving behind their command module pilot inside, while the rest of them will then undock from the lunar module, make their way down, and land on the moon. Then they get out, collecting rocks and soil samples, conducting experiments. In later missions, they would have the rover with them to get around in, stuff like that. And then now it's time for them to come back home. How do they do that? Well, the lunar lander is actually divided into 2 sections, the descent stage and the ascent stage. The descent stage will act as their launch pad, while the ascent stage will fire its engine and lift off from the surface, going back into lunar orbit, leaving behind the descent stage. So if you got a powerful enough telescope, you can actually see these still on the moon today, exactly as they left them when they first landed. The ascent stage will go back into lunar orbit. They catch up with their command module, with their pilot inside, and dock back with the lunar module, and dock back with the command module. One fun story on Apollo 17, Gene Kranz knocks on the hatch, getting back into the command module, and Ron Evans goes, "Who is it?" "Get us in, man, come on." So they get back inside, they bring back with them all the rocks and soil samples and all the data that they've collected while on the lunar surface. Then they dispense the lander. It's done its job, they don't need it anymore. Then the command module with its single engine will fire off and head back to Earth. So now all they have is just the command module. There's no lunar module now. So they're in this little space now. When they get close to Earth, they then dispense with the service module, which burns up in Earth's atmosphere. Command module re-enters Earth's atmosphere, parachutes deploy, float down, splash down into the ocean. Navy comes and scoops them up. History is never the same again at that point, yada, yada. So out of everything that you see in this building, the only thing that comes back is that brown cone-shaped part you see right there. That actually gets recovered. And if you go back to the Starship Gallery, you will see an actual one that was brought from Apollo 17, the last of the missions over there. So you get to see the real thing over there. So any questions?
So every stage controlled by the mission control from here.
Mostly autonomously. You know, it actually flies itself. The astronauts are just there just to hang on. If they need to, they could fly it themselves if they need to, but most of the time it's done automatically, going into space. They're just along for the ride.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Why is that the only place that you guys retrieve?
Because everything else is either dumped into either falls in the Atlantic Ocean or it's out in deep space somewhere. They just never were designed to come back and reused again. Even the command module, even after it's been reused, it can't use it again.
Okay,
So it's just a one-time use and then?
Yep. Use it once and one time only, and that's it. So if you want to do more missions, got to build a new spacecraft.
How long does it take to build one?
They actually built them all within a 2-year span. Actually,
How many?
about 25 or 23 of them were built. A couple of them there was 2 of them that they did test launches with. They didn't fly them at all. They didn't have anyone in them at all, like that. And there was another one that was used for Skylab that they deployed it into space, like that. This one right here is a amalgam of 3 canceled missions in the Apollo program, 18, 19, and 20, which is why we have it here, because those missions were canceled.
all right.
If this was used, it would not be sitting here. Right?
You answered my question.